So all these kinds of, so main focus for mine in the field is web application testing, source code review, and different API testing. All right. So we are definitely working for the police also. Means I'm basically the official trainer for the Mumbai crime branch, and I'm delivering training to the railway force, to the military force, as well as to the Indian force. All right. And in the meanwhile, I'm also working with different companies as in freelancer trainer. So that's all from my side, sir.
That's really, really wonderful, ma'am. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that you'll be able to enlighten our students with regards to the cybersecurity platform. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So good evening to all of you. This side Riddhi Sorrel, and today we are going with API testing, and basically what is API testing and how we are working with it. So we will understand that. So can everyone on the cameras, if possible? All right. So by the time I'm starting with, just a second, let me share the screen.
Students, please do switch on your cameras if possible.
All right. Yeah. So I think everyone can see the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So basically, what we are doing in an API testing, you have every time you have heard about the hackers, you have every time heard about the web security testings. All right. So what is API? API is basically an application programming interface, and it is working on a backend part. All right. So whenever the website is developed, and it is having some different connectivities, if you have seen within like we have any website where we are having the transaction summaries, transactions, payment gateways, and different several different parts of the payments, as well as of different integrated features of the websites. There we use API. All right. So first we are understanding about what is an API, then the API security. We are using the tool as Postman. Then what we are finding, how we are attaching the burp suite with it. We are just taking into the proxy part, and we are just analyzing the request first from the request as well as from the response, and through the burp suite. Then we are just focusing on the scopes, the bugs, and the difference between website testing as well as the application testing, because several times I've heard about like website testing and API testing are being same or different, but they are several parts we have we sound it as similar, but it is not similar, it's different. The bugs we are having as different, because on the basis of OWASP top 10 we have bugs of broken authentication, mismanagement, logging errors, monitoring errors. But sometimes what happen when we connect with an VAPT part, means vulnerability assessment and penetration testing part, that time we think that API and website are doing same. Why? Because website is also taking for the testing part, and API is also going for the testing part. But API takes several different aspects comparatively with the website testing. Website normally takes with browser part. All right, so we'll discuss it later. Now we are having the API. What is an API? So API have several different if you are knowing about software development or web application development, so you must have heard about APIs also, and you have used also the API part. So in that, what we main focusing on, we are main focusing on the connections between the front end as well as the back end part. All right, and we are attaching with the different features into it. So here it is similar with that. API have become the center of the software development, connecting and transferring data across the system and application. Luckily, testing have greatly improved efficiency of the testing strategies as whole. So basically, what actually the API is doing. So you can see the application image here. We are having the company, and the API is attaching with different parts. Means we are using it with the partners, with the enterprise applications, mobiles, different appliance different connected cars, we are using different technologies. Now everything is developing so fast and very means very featured way. So everything is using with an API part. Now, in the second paragraph, API, application programming interface, are connecting with the tissue between different systems or the layers. I think everyone is getting it. Could you
Yes,
repeat?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. All right. Application often having the different services like services, layers, and presentation layers. Now, moving towards application security means API security. So, why the API security is important and why we have used it means what's the need of API security? Once we are going with API, it is very well formed. Like we are using the APIs, we are connecting with the APIs, and we are developing very different features into it. But what's the need of API security? Why? Because if we are consuming an hackers, if we are thinking just like for the hackers, they are just pointing on the new features. Like we are consuming new features just to develop ourselves, just to enhance our features, work experience. So that time hackers are also communicating with the same part. All right, so if you have heard about IoTs, so now the IoT securities are also come into the face. Why? Because since IoT devices are using on a high scale, definitely attackers are consuming that particular science also just to destroy it, just to misuse it, just to take the data revealed from it. So that's why in the similar way API security comes into existence. Now, what actually the API security is doing for? So, API security testing helps ensure the basic security requirements have been met, including conditions of users. So, what things the data? Sorry, what things the hackers are capturing from it? Obviously, the data, the flow of the data. The we can talk about the request and the response, what the data is serving to the server, what server is actually understanding about the request, what it actually manipulating the request and giving us the response in the same way. All right, so the idea behind API scanning is to craft input, the bugs, and also the behavior of an API, essentially mimicking the actions, attacks, vectors would be the hackers. So definitely, whenever we are focusing on or developing on APIs part of thing, means the website. I'm just talking about the website. Everything is capturing the APIs. So whenever we are developing it, uh, basically website is for the front end part as well as the back end part. And what API is doing, they are just attaching it. So if an attacker is focusing on the API, like yes, the particular payment gateway is attached to the site and it is having the different API attached to the bank XYZ bank, right? So the target of the hackers just to understand how I can reveal the data through this API calls. Whenever the website is putting some data on the front end part, obviously it's calling something, right? I think everyone is getting. Hello. All right.
Students, please respond.
Yeah, please respond. All right. So whenever we are getting it, so definitely they are understanding about how these things are getting the data flow into it. All right. Now, how API based apps are different. How API based apps are different. Again, from the OWASP, we are running within OWASP top 10. Whenever we are doing the testing part, we are just focusing on OWASP top 10 on the website, on the mobile, on the source code, as well as on the APIs. So here we have server is used more as proxy for data. Rendering component is the client, not the server. Then client consume raw data. APIs expose underlying implementation of the app. The user's state is usually maintained and monitored by the client. More parameters are sent in each HTTP request, object IDs, filters, all these. So here, basically, it's asking for the how API based apps are different. So how API based apps are different? Actually, what happens now in the scenario, everything is similar, but how we are differentiating it through the apps, those points are listing here. Now, uh, why is API security important? Now, As the API security is important because businesses use API connect services and to transfer data. So as the hack can lead to the data breach. All right. I'll just take one example on it. Just give me. Uh, Here, what we will be using as, we have to download Postman. Since I have downloaded and already opened, so we are using the, for the API testing, for the API security, we will be using the Postman tool is specifically designed for the API testing. Means testings are of very different kinds of, means sometimes the developers are also doing for the testing. All right. If you are also developing something, so you must have undergone with we are also testing. So some testings are unit testing, some you are also creating the case studies for the testing. So I'm talking about the security testing where Postman is also helping. Okay, because it is a great platform for just understanding the API flow, understanding the API request and response. So whenever we are using Postman, we have to just download it, sign up from here first, download it and sign up from here. I have already opened it. I'll open it again. And also open the Burp Suite Community Edition. So Burp Suite is basically drawing us for the, it's basically a proxy software. It's lying between the softwares just to understand the request and response, what the request is sending from here and what the response is coming from there. All right. So Burp Suite is that medium. So we are using this Burp Suite. Just a second. Let me just open the Postman. All right. So we are having this Postman. I'm just sharing the screen quickly. And there are few dummy sites. Just a second. Let me close these tabs. So here I'm already opened with the some dummy sites. Let me just reopen it. These are the demo sites for the API testing. I can list these sites also on the in the chat window so that you can also try after a while. This is one link. First you understand and then you can practice this even after the class also. I'll just give you these sites. These are the wonderful dummy sites for testing, just to understand the API testing, how the security testing works and how actually the API flow works. All right, so these are the things. Okay, so this is one of the wonderful site which I have opened, and it is for the demo part. So here we are having, these are the get request, put request, all kinds of request. You can see list users and if we are getting the response. So in the API part, always we are triggering, always we are understanding about the request as well as the response. So here, if I open the single user, I'm getting these identities. I'm getting these information through the response. If I'll click any of these, I can get, means there are some where we are getting the response 404. There are some getting, we are getting some errors also, and we are getting some request proper with a proper response. Sorry. So we can check single user here. All right. I'll check it to the list users. If we'll click on it, we can understand. I'll just, if you can understand, then just see this, what information we are drawing from it. We are getting the ID, since this is a demo site, so we are getting IDs 8, ID 9, 10, 11, 12, with the email IDs, with the first name listed, last name listed. Means this is the information which a website contains. Okay, and we are understanding and we are getting request as well as response here with the sites and whatever the information they are sending, whatever the information they are holding. So sorry. All right. So if I'll open it, just a second. So this is also I have given you in the chat window. Manage engine. This also reveal the most means more information related to the APIs. Means what APIs we are giving. Okay, what response they are giving us. I'll just open it. Go on resources. Go on free tools. In the free tools, scroll down. Go on API testers. In the API tester, paste the URL. And we are getting the methods here: get, post, put, patch, delete, head. Okay, but just to understand what the flow is moving, that's more important. And then how we are connecting it through the burp suite through the proxy software, means it's a proxy software, how we are connecting with the proxy part, that's more important. All right, so we are just understanding it. If I'll click on the test, then here we are getting the information about it. Headers, that is the request header, we are getting its information, and also the response headers. Whenever in the API I'm talking about, or I'm talking about in the request form, if we are getting 200 OK, it simply means whatever we are sending from here to the server is accepting it and analyzing it and giving us the response 200 OK. Like whatever work we are doing from here to the server, it's accepting finely. So that's why we are just posting it here 200 OK. And we are getting all the kinds of informations of it. You can even see it. I think till here it is clear. If it is till here it is clear, then I can move towards the burp suite. All right. So here I'm having the burp suite. This is a proxy software. I'm running with the community edition. You can find this software simply here when you can check download burp suite. You can download. It's a Postgre Lab tool. It's a wonderful tool. You can just log in it and download it from here. It's a community edition. Professional edition comes on a some amount basis. For the students, it's better just to understand the community edition. You can get everything in the community edition, but obviously some features are blocked for the professional level. Sorry. Now, how we are assigning it with the proxy. So let me just take to you this. Since this is a tool, this is a proxy software, I can take you with the dashboard. It's a dashboard, okay, where we can understand the bugs, since it is showing some dummy bugs over here. So these are the bugs listed. We can find out, since you can see the host are coming already, the previous one. Okay. Now we are having some targets here. That is the site maps, the scope, the issue definitions. You can see the scopes. Whenever we are going for the testing part, we just understand the target scopes. We can have the add, edit, remove, paste URLs. Sometimes what happens when we are pushing with a brute force attack, sometimes we are pushing with different attacks, that time target scopes are required, if scopes is given that time. All right. So, issue definition is very wonderful for the beginners or for everyone, just to understand, because it is giving us all kind of information. You can understand what OS injection is. If you are new to this, you can understand what OS injection is, command injection is, remediations, and all the references also they are giving us. The SQL injection we are having, it means you can list out these bugs. You can see these all kind of injections posting here, and you'll get the whole information about it. Now we are moving towards the proxy. So proxy is the main thing which we actually always will be using it. Whenever we are putting some request and response, we are just putting our main part of this tool as proxy. So we have intercepts. Whenever we are just getting the request and we have on the intercept, that time we are just accepting the request of the website, of the application, of the API, anything. Now we are having the API history, where we are generating the histories, or whatever the clicking part, whatever with the scrolling part, every history is coming here. WebSocket history, options. So in the options, what we have to do, just give me 1 minute. Let me introduce all these things and then we'll start. Introduce. This is specifically working for, means introduce, repeaters. All these types of particular portions of verb suits are for the for the different testing. Means whenever we are going for a brute force attack, whenever we are going with different attack, like where we have to focus multiple requests on the same request, that time we use it. Sequencer, decoder, comparator. Now coming towards proxy. In the proxy, we have this local IP. We have this 127.0.0.1, and this is the port on which our verb suit is running. Now going on a postman. First we'll understand. I'll just post the request which I have done till here. Just copy it, post it here. It's already posted here, and we'll give a sending part. So we are getting the request. We are getting the body. We are getting. We have just requested this link and send it, and we have got the response out of that. All right. Now sometimes what happen, whenever we are using the link again and again for the security testing, for the understanding the API testing, if we are requesting the same link, might be, just a second, might be these things are changing, but the URL for a one site will be the same, right? So for that, what we will be doing is we will be setting up a variable, means that is called an environmental variable. We will be setting that variable here, and we are just using a name as we call it. We are having all, everyone is having some pet names, right? So our parents, our relatives, our friends are always used to call from that name, right? So what happens, whenever we are setting a pet name to this, like URL, link, so that time we don't have to type here the site name. We just have to type here URL, and then the rest API part. All right. So by that basically this thing and that thing doesn't make a sense, but everything is same. But for make the simplicity, for making understand things, that's why we just creating the environmental variables. What's the need of this environmental variable? Whenever we are getting a bulk APIs, whenever, since this is only the one, and that too also our demo API. But since we are getting some companies big APIs or multiple APIs, like 1,000 APIs we are getting, or 10,000 APIs we are getting from some company's website. So if we are testing all the companies APIs with the same name, that might be getting some confusion into it. So that time what we'll do is we just post the, to make the simplicity, we make this URL in a very simple name. Name can be the URL, the name can be the link, name can be the variable, like something like that, so that we can assume it in a very smaller name. All right. Now we are connecting it with a proxy software. So for that, we have several options lying here. Like on a file, we have different parts. On a edit mode, we have different parts. View, we have different, and the help. So we are putting ourselves on a file, then going on a setting part. In the setting, we can see different types of things available: themes, shortcuts, data, add-ons, certifications, proxy, updates, about. All these things are available. So now what we'll be doing is we will be coming on a proxy, going down, then just a second. All right. So we will be using the proxy server here as, so be noted like this, like whatever the things we are using here, because always we are running on a local host, on a local IP. So that's why we are just putting the same IP here, that is 127.0.01, and the port 8080. For that, it is now connecting. So to understand, you can see this. Now, as I said, it is a history. So history means, HTTP history means whatever the request, whatever the response is coming, everything is noted here. Everything is noted here on the screen. So I'll just make intercept on here. First, I'll put in intercept on, and then I'll just send it. So before, if you can see, everything is lying here, means the response which we have already tested before using the proxy software. Now, connecting with the proxy software, let's understand how the response is coming to us. Okay, so we are sending here. It's simply going into that, but as the button is clicked there on the postman, the intercept has already, we have on the intercept here. So we are accepting this request in a burp suit, and the request which we have generated there, like this. See, here all the sending is coming. It's keep on sending, but it's not stopping, and it's not even showing us the response, right? So what we are doing, because it's request is accepted or captured through burp suit. So burp suit has already captured his request. So unless and until we'll forward the request, it shows keeps on sending request. All right. So you can see first, just see this. The get method is there, and the API which we have used there, we have just listed here also. Now clicking on the forward button. Now if we are going on postman, then we can see the response coming here. Then we can see the response coming here. So hope things are clear till here. So if you will be practicing such thing, you will understand what actually the medium is calling. Many of you have, if you have worked with API, then developers should know, must understand what API security testing is, because whenever you are understanding this, you can make your API more secure, so that the attackers can do not manipulate it during the response, during the requesting part. All right. So this is specifically we have done for one request, and we have to analyze its request. Okay, so how we will be analyzing it? We have to focus on the burp suit. Now we'll quickly on this, means we'll quickly click on that. We'll get the original request is here and its response here. Since this is a dummy API, it is consuming many bugs into it. So you can see the access control allow origin is also coming as an star, X powered express, all these, and its information is listed down here. Okay, although this information is similar as the information we are getting on the postman, but since what we are doing is we are just consuming it, understanding it through the proxy software. So whenever the application is whenever the API is having the bug into it, we have to understand its request and the response here, and by this we can analyze what possibility the vulnerability can reach to the to the API. I think it's clear till here. So till here we have seen why API security is important. So for that, I have shown you the burp suit, why we are lying this, and I have shown you the two APIs listing sites, two API listing sites where you can check the API calls. Okay, if you have to examine this as in response, like why this response is blank, you can understand till here. Then go into the postman, then check attaching to the proxy software, and then analyze it, what actually the response is coming and why it's coming 404. Is there any is there any issue coming, is there any vulnerability arising, or what actually the request is going into it, means are we passing the wrong request, are we passing the manipulated request already. All right, so these are the things which we can understand. So by the time when the response coming 200, you can check those types of APIs. All right, so now here we are having the OWASP top 10 APIs, where we are having means here we have the broken object level authorization. The authentication part means authorization authentications are entirely different, but still sometimes what we have is some people thinks that this is same, but this is entirely different. Means one is just understanding the identity, and then second is understanding the how we are getting the access into it. Then excessive data exposure means sometimes what happen whenever the API we are passing, those APIs are understanding, means those APIs are some revealing the data. Some of you have heard like hard coded passwords are revealing some data. Some hackers have revealed the data. How? Because because they have used the means they have used the simple passwords, they have not put it the validations into the username and password, the SQL injection arises. All right, so these kinds of users or these kinds of actually the vulnerability arises in the websites or and similar with the API testing. Lack of resources and limiting, broken function level authorization, mass assignment. So these are the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities by which the API testing is conducted and performing. All right. Now, one more thing is there. Like first, we have to understand what the website is doing and what the API is doing. So I'll just explain you that. Suppose we are having Microsoft.com. This is the site on which we are targeting, right? So this is the site when the hackers are there. So whenever the hackers are just scrolling it, whenever the hackers are understanding it through the softwares, through the tools, through the manual understanding, that time what they are doing is they are just understanding the front as well as the backend connectivity, backend flow. All right, means but in the API are similar. API is something like suppose we have added the cart option here. Now, whenever we are added the cart, and suppose we are getting the bills into it, means we are going on a payment part, we are going on some third party application we are using, and we are moving towards that. So that time the APIs are coming. Okay, and in API we are just focusing on the backend server logics. We are focusing specifically on backend server logics, as well as we are understanding the flow, the data flow on that. All right. And in the website part, in website we are understanding the header vulnerabilities. API testing never gives you the header vulnerabilities. They are just giving only this request is going into that response. So what is actually the possibility the vulnerability can arise, or the security is existing. All right. So I think here, till here everything is clear. If you have any questions, you can raise on. Is anyone is having any question, or I have to repeat anything else here till here?
Students, do let ma'am know if you have any questions or if you have any doubts. Ma'am, I think okay, we do have a question here from Asim in the chat box.
All right. So great, Asim, you have asked this question. Uh, do we not require to install and configure certification for HTTPS traffic in Postman like this? Since we are using the community edition and we don't require it. Okay. Sometimes what happened, whenever we are going for a website testing, that time you require certifications. I can even show you, but for the website, for the Postman part, you don't require that. All right. For the website, you require that. If you want to know about how to install the CS certification, that I can tell you that also. I think it's clear till here. You're welcome.
Excuse, hello, ma'am.
So, any other doubts, students?
Hello, excuse me.
Yeah.
Ma'am, what's the difference between API and web service?
All right. I'll just give you a very simple example. In the API is what? API is, you can understand, you know what actually the API is working for? All right, no issues. So I'll just give you an answer there. Like what happens whenever we are having the APIs. APIs are something connecting. It's basically connecting. Connecting means we are having an ICIC bank, right? So in the ICIC bank, if we are using if I am having the account in ICIC bank, then definitely if I'm using the Paytm, it can be attached with ICIC bank. If I'm using a phone pay, it can attach to the ICIC bank. If I'm using a Google Pay, it can attach to the ICIC bank, right? So what happened? ICIC bank generating one API, which all these different payments applications are getting those APIs, and by that API, it's very simple. I'm having my account in ICIC bank, but I can use any different application, phone pay, Paytm, Google Pay, whatever, and I can use attach my bank there, and I can scan the code and I can purchase anything what I like, right? So this is the API work, what API is doing. Now, what comes for the website? Website is basically website is something, it's having the front end part as well as the back end part. As I show you, just as I shown you, just a second. Since I'm having this microsoft.com, so if I have to purchase anything, or whatever things I have to do in it, so what I'll do is I'll first sign in into it. Okay, so I'll put in my password here, and I'm going into the site. So for that, hacker, what hacker is doing is, for if he or she has seen the website, okay, it's having the username and password, means the authentication, means the identity. So first I have to understand, like, if the username, if I'll break the username and password, and without putting the password I can go into it, then it means I can reveal the data also from the website. So this is the thinking of the attacker. Okay, so this is the scenario of the website. But is is I can see any website, any API here. No, APIs are hidden. So whenever, sorry, so whenever we are using burp suits like this, and uh, although this is an API, but whenever we are using such kind of an tools or anything, we are having some APIs listing here also. By that understanding, by that attacker understanding the flow, but it is not harming any APIs. Okay, it's just focusing on the website. And specifically for the API just flowing the showing the flow from the request to the response. So these are entirely different things. Okay, whenever we are going for website testing, it doesn't mean we have checked the API also the company used. No, if we are going for a API testing, so we are thoroughly just understanding the API flow, just understanding, just testing the APIs. We are not monitoring the websites there. All right. So these are two different things. I think it's clear.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Is there any other question? I'll show here also. It's very simple. If we are going on, just a second. If anyone finds any issue whenever you are doing a website testing, that time you just have to generate the CS certificate. How you have to generate the CS certificate, I'll just show you. Just click on this. It's saying are you sure you want to generate the burp CS certificates? For that, I just click on yes. Let's suppose I'll click on yes. Okay, and that time, just give me 1 minute. If I'm going on a work, I'll off the postman for some time for the settings. I'll show you how to generate with the CA certificate. No proxy. That's why my Firefox was not on, because the already the proxy was there. That time it's just generating here. Since it is giving error, why? Because I have attached the different IP in burp suite for the postman. But that time what happens, whenever we are generating the CA certificate, it is downloading. And if you are attaching with the Firefox, that time you have to go in settings, in the certification part, view certificates. You have these authorities and you have to import here. I have already imported this certificate. So you have to import here. And that time CA certificate got configured in the Firefox and you can start with the testing part. I have already used here in the burp suite. It will generate here till by the name post figure. I think this question one student has asked, I think it is clear. Yeah, you can paste this IP also. You can paste this IP also. Otherwise, you can just post it there above suit and it will show the error. And view means some button was there. You have to download the CS certificate from there. And then you have to just post it on the link. Means on the Firefox, if you are using the Firefox with the connectivity, you have to view, you have to go on a Firefox as I shown, and you have to paste it there. I think till here, everything is clear. I think till here it's clear. If anyone has any issue, just ask. Just quickly ask. I think everyone is clear with these things. So here we have the softwares listed as Postman. Postman you can use very easily. Although you will be finding many softwares on internet like REST APIs. We are having means applications, different softwares also. But Postman is the best platform for the API testing, for the unit testing of the API as well as for the security testing of the API. So this is wonderful tool which we are also using for the companies. And for the other scope, for the other part of the company, if you will be understanding the website security and then you are switching towards the API security, then obviously you will be getting bonus in sense you will be getting much more emphasis on in a companies, just to understand how actually the website is flowing, how actually the website works, okay, through the APIs, through the network connectivity, all these kinds of things. So if you are learning with API security testing, then definitely you will understanding more deeper knowledge, you will having more deeper knowledge in website security testing also. And nowadays company is actually demanding for the API testing. All right. So to getting into the flow of cybersecurity, you have to understand the VAPT, how the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing works for different domain. And from that, the major part of it is nowadays the companies, different companies, means many international companies as well as the national companies, big companies who are just using many APIs. They are just worrying about the API security. So that's why the API security is much more in trend and much more in means in a more trend, as well as they are giving the more packages also on it. So you can understand API security much more. For that, you can first understand website security and then you can go on a application security, application programming interface. I think all things are clear till here. So Shashank sir, I think I'm over with.
Thank you for the wonderful session, ma'am. So, students, if you
Okay.
have any more questions, you can always reach out to me over WhatsApp, and we'll get back to you with answers. In case if you have any sessions, any questions post the session. And thanks a lot, ma'am, for this wonderful session and to enlighten our students. So,
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
ma'am.
Thank you.